Hello and welcome to this video. We're covering a crucial subject, how to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace. This video also serves as helpful and required compulsory training for employers to provide their staff. Employers, it's vital for you to understand that your responsibilities and your need to be prepared in order to create a safe environment for your employees rest on a video such as this. In this video, we'll discuss why sexual harassment training is important, what sexual harassment looks like, how you can prevent sexual harassment, and how you can stay legally compliant. So, firstly, why is sexual harassment training important? When harassment occurs, it doesn't just harm the individual affected, it impacts the morale, productivity, and even the reputation of the entire organization. With this in mind, regular training is therefore essential because it positively and proactively cultivates a safe workplace culture. Some of our clients have dealt with cases where inappropriate comments or behaviour went unchecked simply because there wasn't enough clarity on what counts as sexual harassment has become an issue. And in many of these situations, either the employer didn't have proper reporting systems or the staff weren't fully aware of where the boundaries of acceptable behaviour lie. Regular sexual harassment training ensures that employees understand what is acceptable and what is unacceptable, and what unacceptable behaviour looks like. For example, inappropriate comments or remarks about someone's physical appearance or personal life, sexual jokes or innuendos with undertones that could make others feel uncomfortable, or unwanted physical contact of any form. Regular training also ensures that employees feel valued because clear expectations are set. In a politicized culture that can often appear polarized, it's important that employees feel, believe, and know that they are in workplaces where they are valued and truly cared for. It is therefore essential that through this training, employees know how and where to report issues, which provides confidence in the processes, enhanced workplace safety, and accountability measures. Employers need to meet legal obligations by documenting training and preventative efforts, which in turn demonstrates commitment to maintaining a harassment-free workplace, reduces liability for the company, and tracks policy effectiveness and helps to improve training programs over time. So what does sexual harassment actually look like? Sexual harassment can often be misunderstood. So let's clarify it. Sexual harassment refers to unwanted conduct of a sexual nature that makes someone feel intimidated, degraded, or offended. And it can take many forms, such as verbal harassment, which can look like remarks about someone's appearance in a sexual or suggestive way. For example, calling someone darling, or love, or bird. Yes, bird. Believe it or not, in 2024, an employment tribunal had found that referring to women as birds could constitute a sexual harassment, and the claimant in this particular case was awarded over £50,000. It ought to be said that on the facts of that particular case, that the series of events between the August and November of 2022 included a colleague boasting of their sexual conquests amongst other unlawful conduct. But sexual harassment can also take the form of unwanted remarks such as, "You'd be more attractive, or so much more attractive if you smiled more. You'd look great if you lost a few pounds. You have a partner, right?" Also, advances such as repeatedly asking someone out despite their declining, or sending flirtatious or suggestive messages outside of work hours. Making suggestive compliments are also likely to be forms of sexual harassment. Also, comments or jokes such as telling crude or inappropriate jokes about someone's body or appearance can be taken as sexual harassment. Objectifying remarks too can be taken as sexual harassment. Teasing about someone's romantic life can also be one too. There was a successful case for the claimant of sexual harassment which was brought because the business owner insisted on playing Cupid between staff. And despite the business owner's apparent benign motive, the acute lesson for employers is that employees are entitled to a private life, and employers should not interfere in personal relationships and only do so where there is a direct impact on the workplace. Another form of sexual harassment includes sharing inappropriate images, such as sexual explicit images or videos, suggestive memes or GIFs with sexual or offensive content, displaying explicit content on work computers, screensavers, or in shared spaces. A helpful guide can be taken from a Luxembourg Court of Appeal case, which recently considered such a case and restated the rules applicable in this area. In that particular case, an employee was dismissed with immediate effect, both for unjustified absence from work and for saving personal photos, including pornographic ones, on the computer made available to her for the performance of her duties. The employee contested the validity of her dismissal. Now, at first instance, the employment tribunal ruled that the dismissal was valid. In particular, the judges considered that the presence of sexual images on a work computer made available to the employee by her employer on the employer's premises is inappropriate, and that these images unquestionably likely to offend sensibilities of a person who discovered them by chance and cause discomfort, making it immediately and irremediably impossible to continue the employment relationship. And it was also noted that where there was no personal evidence showing that the photos were saved on an external server or that they were password protected was also important. The employee appealed against that ruling, claiming that the discovery of the photos was clearly a breach of her private life and they were on private files, but that appeal was rejected. Sexual harassment, moving on from that case, also shows as physical harassment too. That can be grabbing, touching, pinching, patting someone without consent, making sexual gestures or motions, standing too close, or physically preventing someone from moving away, constantly staring at someone. Sexual harassment can also be in the form of unwelcome and persistent flirting, such as repeated compliments on someone's appearance or attractiveness, despite them showing no interest. Frequent, unsolicited comments about someone's personal life or relationships, such as asking if they're dating or interested in someone, or persistent texting or messaging with flirtatious or suggestive content. Recognizing these different forms and the impact that they can have is the foundation for meaningful prevention efforts. So, how do we prevent this? The Equality and Human Rights Commission has published an 8-step guide to preventing sexual harassment at work. Employers must anticipate how sexual harassment might happen in the workplace and take preventative steps to prevent it. The Equality and Human Rights Commission's 8 steps are as follows. Firstly, develop an effective anti-harassment policy. The guide states that a good policy should specify who is protected, state that the sexual harassment will not be tolerated and is unlawful, state that the law requires employers to take reasonable steps to prevent sexual harassment of their workers, state that the harassment or the victimization may lead to disciplinary action up to and including dismissal, state that aggravating factors such as abuse of power over a more junior colleague will be taken into account in deciding what disciplinary action to take. They should also define sexual harassment and provide clear examples of it. Examples should be relevant to your working environment and reflect the diverse range of people that harassment may affect. You should also include an effective procedure for receiving and responding to complaints of harassment, and also address third-party harassment, such as by customers or service users. The second stage is to engage your staff. Don't make the mistake of underestimating the importance of this step in preventing sexual harassment in the workplace. A great way to ensure that you are in consistent communication with your staff are regular one-to-ones and holding, for example, anonymous surveys asking for their input. Cultivate an environment which has an open door policy to discussions, which will in turn help you identify potential issues before they arise. And ensure you also evaluate the effectiveness of current measures you have in place by holding the review meetings and regular assessments. Thirdly, Make sure to access and in turn reduce workplace risks by conducting risk assessments and by asking the following question, which the guide will helpfully provide. Where are the power imbalances? Is there a lack of diversity in your workforce? Is there a job insecurity for a particular group or role? Are staff working alone or at night? Do staff have customer-facing duties? Are customers or staff drinking alcohol? Are staff expected to attend external events or conferences or training? Do staff socialise outside of working hours? Do staff engage in crude or disrespectful behaviour at work? As employers, you've got to ensure that you implement reporting mechanisms which provide anonymous and confidential reporting systems. People often hesitate to report harassment when they're uncertain about how their information will be protected and who will have access to it. So focus on creating and enforcing clear guidelines on what is acceptable and what is unacceptable behaviour so that there's no confusion. Also make sure to invest in training your staff well. Ensure all members of staff, from junior to senior members, receive ongoing training on identifying, reporting and managing harassment. It is crucial to educate employees on how to recognise various forms of harassment, including subtle behaviours, and to understand the importance of raising these issues as early as possible. Management should receive additional training on how to handle these situations, and the importance of taking these situations seriously should be emphasised. Don't underestimate regular preventative training. It should not be neglected. If any complaints do arise, make sure you address them effectively. The guide states that you should act immediately to resolve the complaint, taking into account how the worker wants it to be resolved, that you should respect the confidentiality of all parties, protect the complainant from ongoing harassment or from being victimised during an investigation or complaint. For example, move the alleged harasser to another team or site. And you should also protect witnesses to the sexual harassment. If a worker makes a complaint of harassment that might be a criminal offence, you should speak to the individual about whether they want to report the matter to the police and support them with this if they go ahead. Only use confidentiality agreements where it is lawful, necessary and appropriate to do so. Always communicate the outcome of the complaint and outline any appeal process to the complainant in a timely manner. As employers, you should also tackle third-party harassment and treat harassment from customers, clients or others as seriously as possible. And as any internal incidents that arise, put preventative measures in place. Consistently monitor and evaluate your measures. The guide states that you should evaluate the effectiveness of the steps you've taken by renewing informal and formal complaints data to see if there are any trends or particular issues and appropriate actions, that you should survey staff anonymously on their experiences of sexual harassment, including whether they have witnessed or been subjected to harassment, whether they have or would in future report it, and if not, why not, and what further steps they could take or you could take. You should also compare reported complaints with survey feedback to ensure that you have an accurate reflection of the level of sexual harassment in your workplace and take appropriate actions. Hold lessons learned sessions after any complaints of sexual harassment are involved. Unfortunately, many employees hesitate to report harassment out of fear of repercussions or because they're unsure of the process on exactly what to do. You can see that it's clearly vital to create a culture where reporting is encouraged and supported within the workplace, and employees need to trust that their concerns will be taken seriously and handled with confidentiality and respect. So how can you stay compliant? Well, you should develop clear policies which define harassment, set behaviour expectations, and outline consequences for any violations. You should also create accessible reporting channels which encourage reporting, build trust, and ensure confidentiality. Regular training sessions are also crucial as they reinforce policy awareness, encourage bystanders to take action, and address questions and clarify misunderstandings people may have. Cultivate open communication within your workplace because this will encourage transparency and accountability, which in turn reduces misunderstandings and miscommunication and enables early identification of potential issues. Practical resources like HR contacts and support services should also be made readily available, which in turn reinforce support for those affected by the harassment, serve as a resource for clarifying policies, and strengthen employee confidence in organisational support. Meeting these standards isn't about legal compliance, it's a show of commitment to a safe, positive culture. So in conclusion, Preventing sexual harassment in the workplace requires a proactive and consistent approach. By taking these steps, workplaces can not only meet legal standards, but also create supportive environments where everybody feels safe. For assistance in navigating sexual harassment in the workplace, do feel free to reach out through our website at magaralaw.co.uk or call us directly at 01869 325 883. Thanks for watching, and if you're watching via YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos on employment law. Thank you.